Welcome back to the Sonya and Sacha show. I don't know why I'm laughing. I think we just had lunch. And we are with the fantastic Josh McDonald, who you might have seen from part 1 and part 2 of How to Talk to Your Teenager. How do you talk to your teenager's teacher?
Yes.
So now we're going to cover, and this is Sacha, of course, as usual. This is a topic that is really, really interesting. And there's a big debate on this because some people are very proactive about protecting their kids. And then we've got all of these kids falling apart because they don't have any resilience.
Yes.
And Josh is an expert about this, and we have the same kind of theory, don't we, Josh? It's pull up your bootstraps.
Yeah, well,
isn't it?
I think my expert status is highly questionable. But yeah, sure. I think...
Well, wife, who is a child psychologist,
Yes.
teaches psychology.
Yes.
I would say...
Teacher, 9 years.
Yes.
In a leadership role.
All right. It's not about me.
And
Anyway.
you've also been on The Voice, but that's just
All
a whole
right.
other thing.
It is.
But yeah, resilience is a big deal in schools now because it's important. There's as you said, there's kids falling apart. You know, there's...
So, sorry, would I be right in saying this? Because I don't have stats on this whatsoever. Although I did see something on Beyond Blue recently, and they agree. The last 5 years, there's been a massive increase in the number of young people who are suffering from anxiety, depression, and self-harming situations.
Yeah. So
anecdotally, that's what I'm saying. Are you saying that too?
Talk I was at the other day, I think, quoted statistics saying, well, of course, 1 in 4 Australians will experience some sort of mental health episode over their lifetime.
Yep.
And we now
Is it
have...
diagnosed, do you think? Or
Yeah.
is it just...
Yeah. Oh, well, they will experience it, whether or not they get some
Yep.
help for it and are diagnosed. But yeah, statistics say 1 in 4 people will have to deal with a mental health issue. The other concern now is this new emerging statistic saying that 1 in 7 primary school students are emerging with some sort of mental health issue, which is a very new and a very scary statistic.
What are they saying that's attributed to? Primary age.
Primary age.
That's got to be a bit of learned behaviour from parents and things, would you imagine?
Yeah, of course. Of course. But it's a worrying trend with demands, you know, placed on families and kids at that young age, and just general the way that society is changing, I think, and the barrage of information that kids are exposed to. There's lots of different things that are pulling kids in lots of different ways, and I think that could be a contributing factor. I don't know for certain, but...
And do you know what? When we travel into the country, I don't know if you feel this, Ash, as well, but when I travel into the country, I relax. And I've worked out what it is. It's not me driving down the freeway or the street and having 17 different pieces of advertising coming at me and the radio, and then my phone's going, and you know that it's just you're constantly thrown this information, aren't you? And then you look at it. You were saying before. You look at when we were talking off camera. You look at a teenager's world, and then onto everything. It has to be like what's going on in the Facebook thing, what's happening with the
Instagram feed,
Snapchat,
all these narratives. You know, you used to be able to catch the bus home and then walk. You know, you had a 5-minute walk by yourself to home or whatever, or in the car, and you could switch off. You know what I mean? And you would just be like, okay.
Well, I had 10 kilometres through the snow with holes in my...
Sure you did. But now there is no rest. Even, you know, the half an hour before bed, you know.
Yes.
That's not like it's brushing your teeth and checking the phone and
But even for us.
Even
exactly
for us.
Exactly. You know, like, you'd normally get into that. Yeah, you would normally have that time on by yourself, but now
it's right there. It's charging right next to you, isn't it? And then that's where it's so easy.
Well, you're shopping in the middle of the night, so you wouldn't have done that.
My name is Sonya, and I am a shopping internet addict. I'm addicted is what I meant to say.
I think the point is that ultimately kids, we can do okay to a certain degree because of our life experiences generally will allow us to deal with all that stuff. We can make a conscious decision to turn it off or to step away or to spend an extra 10 minutes in the shower and, you know, whatever. But kids don't necessarily have that luxury or that skill set to be able to switch off or realise that, you know, like, you know, the 13-year-old or 14-year-old that breaks up with their first boyfriend or girlfriend, it's the most devastating thing in the world. It's like life is over.
I understand.
But we all know that that'll
on.
pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so sometimes it's that issue as well, like not having the skill set to cope with that event. And I don't know whether we teach that enough. We spend a lot of time trying to protect our kids for good reason. We can helicopter or not, but you know, you don't want your kid to be sad or upset, so you try and help them out as much as you can, and then sometimes that shielding leaves them a bit open to, you know, when they get their first blow, it hits them much harder than it should have.
One day I'm going to research this because I find it so fascinating. What is the difference between a young person who is living through what you and I would easily call hell and have pulled themselves out of it and are bloody superstars, and that kid who breaks their nail and falls apart?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I'm allowed to name drop here, there's probably answers at the... if you guys want to visit the Resilience Project, a guy called Hugh Van Cuylenberg does amazing work around that exact topic, talking about it. In some ways it's brain chemistry, in some ways it's, you know, positive reframing and being fully aware of what is actually before you. The broken nail can be devastating, but really should it be? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's the broken nail, but you've still got the iPhone 6 and you've still got both your parents and you've still got great friends and you know, all of those things. Yeah, perspective. And it's very easy to lose sight of that, but there are ways that you can constantly ground yourself so that you don't lose sight of that. I think that's part of the battle. And when you do those activities, it actually changes the chemistry of your brain.
So one of our kids comes to us and says, and they're falling apart, and we can see it, and we feel helpless because all we want to do is just for them to never feel pain ever. How do we start to
build their resilience?
Build that up? And even, I mean, we've not done that before, obviously, and now they're broken, and we feel responsible as well. So how the hell do we?
Parental guilt.
Yes,
bags of it.
Yes,
heaps and heaps of it. Sure. I don't know. One thing that's important is you got to acknowledge the hurt or the pain. You got to acknowledge that it is painful for them at that time. That's important. You don't want to completely shut it down, but you also don't want to overinflate it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very valuable tool. So, look, wow, that must be really difficult for you right now. This must be really painful for you right now. I understand that. You know, that's to validate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a really great starting point. Often we try and fix. Sometimes fixing is not necessarily the way to go about things.
Or necessary.
Yeah. You know, so sometimes it's just validating, wow, that really sucks. But let's try and get some context around this situation.
Yeah.
So, yes, she dumped you or he dumped you, or, you know, yes, you've lost your phone or you've run out of credit and I'm not going to give you any more money until the end of the month. Like, first world problems. But, you know, like, yes, that really sucks for you. That's horrible. But let's think about it, really. You know, and you can't always... My mum used to use, what about the starving children in Africa?
Yeah.
You know, which is fine.
I picked up that line myself.
Yeah, and you use it because it's a harrowing story. I don't want to make light of that. But it's not real to me.
Do you know what
I mean?
Not to them.
And it's not real to them. And so you got to try and find other ways to say, yeah, but what about this? Like, surely. You don't have a phone, but you've got...
Do we show that? Do we physically get them? If we've got a kid that's like, oh, I'm so depressed, I can't go, you know, I'm falling apart. Do we get them, do we do that? Validate their feelings, understand where you're coming from, but let's grab some perspective. Get them in, chuck them in the car and, you know, drive down to the soup kitchen or go to the bridge underneath Richmond and say... Check that out. Yeah, I read an article today about a girl who's in year 11 who's living under the bridge and she's studying for year 11 in her tent.
That kid is resilient. Like, and so what makes that kid resilient?
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what people are trying to unpack. And there's no surefire response to that. But the research that's coming out through the people and there's been a lot of research in recent years. I don't know the exact findings off the top of my head, but it's saying that it's to do with gratitude.
I was just about to say that because I look at it and I say one of the things that I do, and personally, and I also do with my kids at the end of every night, is we do my 5 grateful things.
Yes, I've seen you do those.
And I've stopped doing them on Facebook because I've kind of thought that I need to do it more privately with my children. I get them to do it and we write them down. And I'm actually grateful for the difficult things that have happened to me in my life. And so one of the things that Sonya and I actually say, like we always say, I was cooking a roast by the time these kids were like doing, you know, and it's true. Like, you know, Sonya has these moments, she'll go, I was cooking a roast at 7 years old. I remember pulling it out of the oven and that's taught me to get on with it. And reflection of my
Not
own
because
life.
my parents actively thought that was an excellent idea. Just get the kitchen
No,
setting
no,
on
no,
and cook us
no,
the dinner. It was that there was underlying issues.
No,
I would say.
But I mean, like, the fact that we were so, it was okay, like, go out and do that. You know, I remember being, having much more responsibility in my life at the same age of different children, of my children or other people that I know. You know, whereas we're not giving that same responsibility. Go out there and, have to wash your own clothes or get your own thing or go to work and do your own stuff. I'm not going to be able to fend for it. But then in the other part of my mind, I think, I could just make their life so much easier and give them that money. They're only going to earn $50 on that shift. I could probably give it to them and then they could study harder. But it wasn't like that for us. And I think that we've turned out quite resilient. And I'm not being one of those people going, it was just us, it was that. But I think it's really important to be able to say, go out there and give it a go yourself. Try it out. You're not going to get it handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Because when you get out there in the workforce, then you're actually going to realise how difficult it actually is, how much you need to strive for it, how hard it is that you want. And I always say to kids all the time, if you've got, even though you may know what you want to do and you've got your dream about where you want to go, doesn't mean it's going to be easy. No. Just kind of like what you do, like with, you've got your dream about singing and all of that stuff as well as being a teacher.
Yeah.
How hard have you worked for that?
Yeah.
You're constantly going out there and doing it. For the work that we do, we're constantly going out. From the outside world, it looks like it's just coming to us and it's really easy and, social media makes it look glamorous. People are always saying, you're doing this, but they're not seeing the hard work that goes behind it. Yeah. And I think that it's really important for us to constantly go, do you understand what it's taken me to get to that level? These are the steps that it's... And speaking about that...
Give it a go.
Yeah, speaking about that with
and
their
get
kids.
on with it. I understand how you're feeling. This is devastating to you. I get it. But hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get up.
Yep.
I think that can be a way. Strategies, giving kids opportunity, and some strategies about how to, because you can't, the last thing you want to hear is just get over it.
And also letting them know that they're not alone, that there are other people going through the same things that they're going through. Because I remember I lost a family member and I was just in front of my girlfriend, just broken down, and she said, come with me. She grabbed me, put me in the car, and she took me to, what's that church on the corner of Lonsdale? St Mary's, is it? On the corner, the big, massive cathedral.
Collins Street.
Russell, anyway,
Patrick's
something. One of the big ones,
ones.
anyway. And she sat me in, and it was, the universe had aligned this. There were about 6 people in that church sitting quietly, sobbing. And she said, you're not in this alone. And I sat there just for a good half an hour and I just watched and I thought, yeah, I am. Because travelling there, I said, that's it. I was surprised that the world was still ticking on around me because I wasn't. I'd stopped and I was broken. And she took me and she said, see, this is what's going on. It's not just you that's dealing with this, it's other people as well. And I guess for some people there's a bit of comfort in that. It certainly was for me. And so maybe young people for the first time, they're feeling pain. Well, yeah, it's okay. Probably some other people have gone through that pain as well. But you survive, you come through it, and on the other side, you just keep going.
Yeah, I think that's the there's pull up your bootstraps and there's get over it. But then there's like, this does suck for you, and it has sucked for others. So it's not like stop whinging because it's not as bad for you. Like, even though that's probably the mental process, but it's probably more of, this is really bad for you, whatever it is, the bad grade, the busted up relationship, the phone in the toilet, whatever it is. But people have been here and people have got out of here. So maybe let's figure out what's next. Like, how do we get past this? How do you as a human, what strategies are around? And there are plenty out there.
So let's give some top tips for building resilience in young people, in our young people.
Cool.
I would say...
Go. Sorry, I'm trying to find some notes that I had the other day on
good.
this topic.
Well, I would say, and I remember this conversation, my niece had been fired from her job and she was devastated. It never happened before in her life. And she was having a little bit of a mini meltdown, and she came over to my house and I said to her, see that tiny little scratch on my coffee table there? And she's like, what are you talking about? What are you on about, Sonya? So that is what's happening to you right now. And that's as big as it is, and then there's all of this as well. And she said that to me later on, much later on, about a year down the track. She said, I remember that conversation that we had, and you told me that my life, what's happening right now is that little scratch in the coffee table. And she said, it was, you're right. And I think about that all the time, and sort of not what you were saying. Understand what you're going through. It's hard, but this is a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot more,
Yeah,
going on. Letting them lose at stuff. Letting them fail at stuff. We talked about this in another podcast that you can see on the website. Fail is first attempt in learning.
Yes.
FAIL. So it's okay to lose, and get them to sit with that feeling and go, oh, okay, well, losing sucks, but I'll give it a shot next time.
Yeah.
And I say to young people, it's okay to, when something devastating happens, to actually have a cry about it and wallow in it, but don't live there. So it's not like you have to toughen up straight away. It just happens
to be. It's a hotel room for
you just don't live there. You just don't stay there. And then all of a sudden, when you find that you're there constantly for a long time, you need to then pull yourself out and say, all right, I've done my wallowing. Sometimes even put a date onto it. So like, I'm going to give you this amount of time. It's like, it makes an end. So if you want to sit by the couch and watch TV and, do that. But after this date, that's it. I have to keep going on with my life.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all really good points.
Because you need to wallow sometimes.
You do. I mean, we're not saying resilient people don't experience sadness. Like, that's not what we're saying.
Well, we met with one of the most powerful women entrepreneurs, CEOs in Australia. We took her up to the top of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and she was, this incredible businesswoman, and we asked her that very question. We said, what happens when it all goes wrong and it's really hard? And she said, oh, do you mean when I get up off the floor after crying on the ground with my dog? And she was one of the most powerful. She was on the board of James Hardie. Like, she was the first female in charge. She's incredible. And I thought, what a great thing to say, and young people need to know that. The powerful people still suffer as well. But the difference between them and the ones who stay there is that they said, right, that's it. Come on, get up. Yeah. Let's go.
But maybe even about having good people around you that get you up, because if you've got people that wallow around, as in your family members, that wallow around in sorrow and failure and live with regret and all of those things constantly, then you're going to pick up those same, personality traits. So being around other people that you've seen them as examples, and then you say, okay, so I saw that you wallowed, I saw that it was sad, but I saw that you got back up as well. So having really good examples around you. And I think it's a really important thing as adults for us to be able to share moments in our lives with teenagers and say, I've been there. Because from the outside, we look like we've got it all together. But on the inside, we've certainly got cracks.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And when the second bad thing happens, reflect back on how you got over the first bad thing. I remember you saying to me, Sash, I've dealt with death before, so I know I can do it. I've experienced that, and I know that I've actually been able to go on and recover and still live a happy and loving life. Yeah, and it resonated with me so well, because I thought, I'd never looked at that as being a strength. I actually got through that. Yeah, good for me. And I've been able to still be okay and still live.
Remind me of that one day.
I certainly will. So I think that we've given some great tips there on resilience. So more on the website, sonyaandsacha.com.au. And thank you, Josh McDonald.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.